think this guy's holding you.
Mid dead. Yeah, that's him. That's the mid guy. That's our spawn guy.
That spawn guy?
LP,
Okay.
LP.
I'll be. They find it B.
Both.
Nice one. Okay, right.
Also
In smoke.
find it.
No, there's two left. One's cave.
Close left, close left.
Shit!
Flashing.
Tired? He a fakey wakey. Kick it.
Nice.
Hold on a sec. Did y'all see that?
Dude, the fucking shadows are.
Ah yes, the fucking shadows are something indeed. CS2 introduced shadows into the game, which will now be a factor that directly impacts our gameplay across all skill levels, casual or competitive otherwise. And I'm sure it's come across everyone's mind at one point or another, but just how big of a factor is this? What is the best setting to use? Am I at a huge disadvantage using one setting over another? These are the kinds of questions that popped up into my head, so I wanted to find out and share my findings with everybody else. And so, let's find out. Overall, after specifically looking around all the maps for these kinds of spots, I found that for most maps, I had to really make a stretch to try to find spots where shadows would come into play here. However, make no mistake, they do exist, and some of them are massive. We'll start with some of the not so bad maps in terms of lighting and shadow play, and save the most egregious offenders for last. However, really quick before we dive into that, I wanted to take a second to discuss settings, because in truth, there's only two options that are viable, and that you should be using. So the first setting is the low option. Obviously you're going to get more FPS, shadows will be simplified in the world or the map, and that may help you identify player shadows by making them stand out against the simplified, baked in shadows on the map. The second setting is the high option. You may get less FPS or virtually the same amount, depending on your system of course. However, you gain the benefits of having real-time player shadows that are illuminated by the map's light sources like lampposts and things like that. And not just the ones that everyone, even on low settings, can see. Do not, I repeat, do not use the medium setting, because using this will net you less FPS than if you are on low. It does not give you the added benefit of real-time player shadows like high does, and it makes the baked-in shadows on each map more complicated looking, potentially making you miss out on player shadows at times. So basically, you get the worst of both worlds by opting to use this in-between option, and it's just not good in any capacity to do so. Now onto the maps. First map, we have Anubis. So Anubis is pretty safe and clean for the most part. However, this section in the bridge right here, you can kind of see right there on the shadow that if someone were about to drop and you happen to be under, you can kind of anticipate that they'll be dropping and just be ready for it, while they have to actually drop, and while they're the ones dropping, you're the one who's going to be getting the drop on them, because the shadow's an early tell, so it lets you anticipate that they're about to engage. Next up, we have Inferno. Same story here, pretty safe and pretty clean for the most part. These sections right here on B site, first orange, second orange. If someone is hiding here, you have a good chance to spot like some kind of shadow protruding outwards right before you actually make contact with that angle that they're tucked in. So it may help in like a rare niche clutch situation or two. But for the most part, Inferno does not have any light shenanigans. Moving on to Mirage, we have this spot here above Cat. This spot is more of a situational spot. It can be used by both terrorists and CTs. Now, while you can see it from down here, it doesn't really make sense, because if somebody is playing up here, the first spot that he's going to be looking at is towards Underpass. But in this game, there's rarely any absolutes. Even though the most likely spot is going to be checking Underpass, maybe there's a situation where Cat is smoked off and a CT walks up there to try to get a peek over at top mid. Then the Underpass guy can spot the shadow and then know to look up. And you can also see from here, you can spot them from connector. The shadow is a lot more prominent and you can know to swing and look up. Last but not least, this is not a big one either, but you can see that right as people are exiting B apps, you can see the trails of their shadows, helping the site anchor or rotators to anticipate fights. Now onto Overpass. The first spot is over here at Long A with this jump up. This is a spot that a lot of teams and players like to play, usually with one guy swinging out, kind of setting up a bait for this guy in the corner here. But if someone jumps here, you can clearly see their shadow moving up and down. Another spot right here on A site towards long. If you're playing this little gap, you'll notice a shadow in between, and this can be spotted as people are exiting long. So if you do want to play the spot, don't play exactly in the middle here, as I'm about to demonstrate. You want to blend your shadow into the shadows of the map and not get too close in the open here where there's a gap. So in this particular spot, do like the Spartans did and fight in the shade. Next up, we have the spot over by truck side when T's are scaling up into sight. They have to clear it left, they have to clear it right, they have to watch out about dice, default box, etc. This corner allows CT to tuck in very deep and safe, and they can anticipate. Shadow gives the sight anchor a heads up that someone's about to take a fight. Should be a fight that they win. Another simple spot that everyone probably noticed on day one. You can see if someone's about to fall off into CT stairs. And last but not least, over here in divider or bathrooms, you can kind of see them before they actually appear on the screen, as shown here. Now this spot is already hard enough to clear without util, and the shadow gives another advantage to someone playing in this spot. And now the maps that are the biggest offenders. First spot, if anybody's trying to sneak up into heaven or looking over the railing, can clearly be seen from the hell position. Now let's travel on down to lower B site. If you're ever in a situation where you gotta play around the pillar here, or silo, the whole freaking floor is illuminating, so this in particular might be really good because if it is ever down to a situation like this, you guys are most likely gonna be walking, so sound won't be a factor. So knowing which way they're going based off of the shadows is a pretty big, impactful advantage on either side, as you can see here. Near the back vents or back halls or decontamination, if someone was hiding in vent, you can see as they cross, the shadow is cast back halls. And all up in decontam room, there's a big ass shadow and light. So you can see right as they're about to exit, the shadow is cast, and also inside decontam itself, as you'll see in a second. Now onto secret. You can clearly see the shadow of the player approaching towards the secret stairs, giving ample time for someone playing in my position to be ready for this swing. Over here by radio or lobby or ramp, you can see the vending machines giving off a shadow here. And another one outside a ramp room itself. Veering on over to Vertigo, we're going to start at CT spawn. There's a big lamppost right here, casts a huge shadow for anyone passing through or holding. There's certain angles that's not going to cast a shadow, as you can see, but for the most part, if there's any movement, you can see it's like a damn finger puppet show over here. In the back of B site by the generator, for the most part you're good fighting in the shade, but there can be situations where if you slowly approach, you can see a player's shadow before they get a chance to see you. Heading into this room near CT spawn, the room with the window or heaven, there's a big lamp that casts a shadow, so as you're approaching, anyone from the outside on site can see you. And it used to be a lot worse actually, but they made a patch so that if you're really far away, like all the way on big ramp, you can't see them. But when you're on site, which is still pretty far, they can see you very faintly. But if they're looking for it, they will notice. One quick but important note here is that if a CT is only trying to get up to heaven or window to take a quick peek for a one and done and then tuck back into cover, they will not be really casting a shadow. So this only comes into play if they're actually trying to bust out the doorway. Just be mindful that they can still play that upper position without telegraphing it. Now down under the big ramp by the bridge or the raising lift, there are a couple of big lamps that give away a position like every which way. This area is like a freaking death trap. So if you're ever flanking or pushing, just be mindful, tread carefully, because if anyone's holding down this area, all I gotta say is good luck. Look, they're all rushing A and nobody's B. I'm gonna be a CT that tries to catch a fast flank. But wait, the enemy has a team holding. And now even if you're walking, you're dead. You're dead. You will likely die. Now, I saved the best or worst, depending how you look at it, for last. The map that even inspired me to look into this deeper, the map Ancient. Starting off at Donut over here, if someone's playing close left, honestly, if they're not moving, they're gonna be fine. So don't rely on this too much and just make sure you clear. There's a big lamp on the right side of A main that casts a shadow towards the left. So if you approach from the left as a terrorist, you can see someone's playing in this middle area on A main, which you're gonna look left to clear that little corner anyway. So it's kind of like you're clearing two birds with one stone. Now that same lamp is gonna cast a shadow for anybody who's gonna be trying to run out of A main. So if someone's playing up in these bushes over here, you can see as they're about to walk or run out, while they're not even sure if you are in your spot or not. Moving on over to Temple, we can see that anyone trying to take an engagement down into CT spawn, you're going to be casting a shadow that can give away the position before they even get to swing. So I imagine this is going to be an unfavorable engagement to take unless they are running up this long corridor and get caught by surprise. And as we can see here, it also comes into play for anyone trying to come outside of Temple. You see that shadow moving along the wall right there? And here's what it looks like from a CT's point of view. So he's trying to retake, and the terrorist already taken up position in Temple. Moving on over to House or Red Room, here's a cheeky little corner that a T could be hiding in, and if a CT is about to walk out, he will be notified by the shadow. And if you're on the outside looking into Red Room, you can clearly see that presence is there thanks to the lights. Crawling through the caves or Cheetah here. It's bad enough that it's a 50-50 angle. You also have a big ass lamp behind you so that either side can see it, which makes it pretty scary to take without utility or a teammate to trade. And finally, we have the spot that started it all. Back of B site between long and short or slant. The way that the shadows are angled could give you a heads up if someone's about to walk out or peek out, just as seen as the very first clip in this very video. Now, one last thing before I let y'all out of here. I've been going on and on about how high shadows has a huge impact, especially on some maps more than others, and in general it's the best setting to use. However, while that is the conclusion, I did find this interesting spot in the back of A site. Remember how I mentioned before, low shadows will simplify the world shadows around the map. So if you're playing on high shadows, as you should be for the most part, look at how the leaves and branches and the trees come into play here. It completely conceals this guy's shadow in the back of this box. And this is what you would see on medium settings as well, but you wouldn't get all those real-time lighting effects that I've shown throughout this video. So now let's take a look at the exact same spot with settings set to low, and now, wow, would you look at that? Clear as day, you can see this guy standing back there. So while high shadows is the clear winner in general, I still managed to find one spot where low shadows actually gives visibility improvement and clear-cut advantage. However, the disclaimer here is that this was the only spot throughout all the maps that I could find where low is actually better than high. So unless you're really hurting for FPS, like your machine can't handle it, you should definitely use high shadows, as it gives clear advantages in a game where every little advantage, no matter how insignificant or minor it may seem, can lead you to an extra kill, which can lead you to an extra round, which can lead you to victory ultimately. So now I like to pose a challenge to everybody out there. Try to find spots of your own where low settings may be beneficial over high settings. If you know of any off the bat, please feel free to share it in the comments, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Thanks for watching.